Alright, so today we're going to do something about fractions. Okay, we are going to do a lot of things about fractions, and before we jump into doing actual algebra, welcome to our study on fraction. Alright, so let's see. These plain figures are whole. So this is 1. Let's call this 2. Let's call that 3. Right? So this is a full circle. Now, if I decide to cut this circle into 2, if I divide this circle into 2, now this is a full circle. Now we can have 1 and we can have 2. You understand? So this is half of a circle. If I have only a half of the full circle, then I have kind of a fractional part. So the basic definition of fraction is just a part of a whole. If I have a full circle and then I cut that into 2, then I have a part of a whole. So the basic question you ask yourself is, how many parts do we have of the whole? So this is a full circle that has been divided into 2 parts. So there is 1 and then there is 2. So if I have to account for just a part of it, I have 1 out of 2. So I have 1 out of 2. So the shaded portion of this particular circle is 1 out of 2, which is also half. You understand? 1/2. Now let's take, for instance, in this particular instance, the square that I have here, I decide to cut that into, I put 1 here, I put 1 there. So now let's look at how many parts I have. I can talk of this as 1 part, this as another part, and then 4. So this particular square has been divided into 4 parts. And so if by any reason I have to account for this, then I'm accounting for 1 out of 4, right? If I have to account for, let's say, I'm actually accounting for 2 out of 4. Okay, so this is very basic. This is very basic with regards to fractions. They are very basic. So this is how you name your fractions. Apparently we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 parts. And so what are you accounting for? These are the shaded part. These are the shaded part. Okay, let's also shade this. Great. So out of the 8 parts, you are accounting for 3. So if I ask to write the shaded part in the form of a fraction, you are accounting for 3 out of 8, and that is what we call 8 of 3 as a fraction. Okay, so now you understand the basics, why we have fractions as a part of a whole. So there is something we need to take note of here. Every fraction has got 2 parts, the numerator and then the denominator. Let's call it n, and then let's call it d. So every fraction has got an n, which is divided. This is a division sign. This is the same as that. So there is a bar that is showing division, and there is a d here, which is for denominator. The denominator here is determining the whole, the total number of parts, and then the n is also determining the out of the part, how many of the parts you are accounting for at that particular instance with the fraction. So for instance, if I have 1 out of 2, it means that there was a whole you divided into a total of 2 parts and you are accounting for 1. I mean, this is very simple, but we also have to take into consideration sometimes the denominator is not necessarily the total number of parts. we will talk about reducing fractions, then you would understand that. Okay, so yes, that is this is the numerator and then the denominator. This is very important. If I have 3 out of 4, I want you to pause for a second and tell me which part of this is the numerator and which part is the denominator. Let's about 4 of 7, let's say 2 of 3, let's say 15 of 17. Let's talk about 100 of 3. Now, if you were able to do this right, you would expect that you would say of this fraction, this is the numerator, that is the denominator, this is the numerator, that is the denominator, this is the numerator, this is the denominator. Here we have 15 as our numerator, 17 as our denominator, and then here we have 100 as our numerator, and then 3 as our denominator. Now these fractions can also be written as 3 divided by 4. You got it? 4 divided by 7. So this division sign here is the same as this bar here, that is 7 as our division. So this division can also be that, it can also be this. Any of these is a division sign, and you have to take a note of that. So let's pause for a minute as you do this. I'm going to show you. So if you have to translate this into fractions, what is going to be your answer? I'm going to have to pause for a minute. Okay, so I guess you were able to do that. Okay, so if we did this correctly, you should have this is 1/4. So you know this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. And so you are counting for 1, and then the total parts it's 4. Here this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You are counting for 3, so this is 3 out of the total, which is 7. And here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 parts. You are counting for 2, so that is 2 on 5, or 2 out of 5. So yes, I hope this clears your whole understanding of what fractions are.